So welcome to another edition of Wealthy and Wise. I'm your host, Adam Kente, and I have with us today David Van Landingham, Executive Corporate Analyst and absolute brilliant man when it comes to corporate structuring, trust, taxation. And I've had the pleasure of working with David for many, many years. And we thought it was a really good idea if we talk today about using trust, and specifically for real estate investors and property owners in using land trust. And David, if you don't mind, give us a little background of, there are different types of trust out there, revocable, irrevocable, many different types of trust. Give us our audience a little background of the various types of trust there are and what you like to use when it comes to real estate and rental properties.
Sure, absolutely, Adam. So trusts are there for many different reasons, many different purposes, and they're set up in different ways. So when we talk about trust, we talk about the family of trust, right? So we have irrevocable trust, we have revocable trust. So when we talk about irrevocable, that's where we're taking something out completely out of your ownership that you don't actually own and really control much anymore at all. Where revocable trust means revocable, which means it can be changed. So in the family of revocable living trusts, so if you have, a will and a trust, it's a revocable living trust. If we have real estate, we use what's called a real estate privacy trust, which does exactly what it says. It creates privacy. It does not by itself create any, protection, liability protection. It's just really more about, keeping you off of title of things. A real estate privacy trust, or land trust as sometimes they're commonly referred to, have been around forever. I'm talking all the way back in the Civil War and the railroad days. I mean, if I walked up and knocked on your door and said, "Hi, I'm from B&O Railroad. I'm here to buy your land," I'm sure you're going to probably jack the price up quite a bit. But if I walk up to you with a surreptitious name, and you don't know I'm affiliated with the railroad, then what happens is I'm going to probably get a fair market value price for that property. Walt Disney did the same thing in Florida. He bought massive amounts of acreage in Florida under these trusts, under different names. Same thing. Somebody walked up, knocked on the door and said, I'm with Disney. We're here to buy your land. Land got pretty expensive right there. So this type of trust does many things. One, it gets your name off of title. So if you have a rental property and it's at 123 Main Street, we're going to call it the 123 Main Street Privacy Trust. Okay. So we've got your name off record. So that's one thing that it does. The other thing, if you have a mortgage on the property, because of the 1982 Garn-St. Act, it basically preempts the due on sale clause. So if you have a property that's encumbered, it has a mortgage on it, and you title it into something different without authorization from the mortgage company, usually what can happen is a due on sale. Well, because of the Garn-St. Act, now that's been preempted, and that's good on 4 doors and down, so residential properties. And then another thing that it does, it separates the liabilities between all the properties. So if you've got 3 properties, you've got 3 separate trusts holding 1 property per trust, and if an action happens in one, the other 2 are not involved. But where the liability comes in, this trust has the ability to assign lifetime beneficial interest, which is given to the LLC. That's what creates the asset protection, is the LLC. So
a lot of attorneys will advise clients that each property should go into its own LLC.
Okay.
And I'm sure that that's one way to do it. But I've always thought about, if I had 21 properties in New Jersey and each one of them was in its own LLC, and one of those LLCs gets sued, my guess is the attorney is going to sue that LLC, sue the owner of that LLC, and as soon as you go into court, in a deposition, you got to list everything you own, your house, your cars, and you own 20 other New Jersey LLCs. They're going the enterprise law theory. They're going after everything that you've got.
Everything.
So when we talk about using separate LLCs, in theory, it's great. But in addition, you've got separate bank accounts, separate everything, and it really becomes a nightmare to manage. How does a trust vary from having a separate LLC?
Well, because the lifetime beneficial interest of each one of those individual trusts is assigned to the LLC, it's one bank account, Adam. One bank account. I mean, I've had 20 rental properties, 20 LLCs, 20 corporate record books, 20 checking accounts. My wife would divorce me. So when we talk about, the financial side of this, we want to set it up so you don't have renewals on all those LLCs every year as well. So when we do this, we want to focus on one thing: financial efficiency. So we set up one LLC, one checking account. The tenants pay rent directly to the LLC or to a property management company that then pays to the LLC. So everything flows into there. And then on top of that, the LLC also, or the REPT also has death time beneficial interest, right? Continuation plan. So upon death, each one of those real estate privacy trusts flows all the properties down to the revocable living trust, thus avoiding probate. So if you're building a dynasty for your family, we want to avoid obviously probate and the uncomfortable times that you're going to have to go through that. So it could be 2-3 year period to go through that. So these are very, very handy. We use them all the time, and there's not a lot of cost to them. There's a one-time fee, and there's no additional fees after that. So again, very financially efficient.
So when you think about putting your primary residence into a land trust, should it go a land trust or should it go into your revocable trust?
Revocable living trust is where you want to go. So let's talk about the revocable living trust for a second. Number one, you don't name it after yourself. We're not going to name it the Adam and Claudia Kinte Family Trust or anything with your name tied to it. I don't have the Van Landingham Family Trust. I have the Bruno Family Trust, which was actually named after my English bulldog who's passed away. I mean, memorialized him. So your personal residence should be in the revocable living trust. That is the proper place for it to be.
Good. So rental properties. Now, if you are renting out, so I have a lot of clients that do house hacking, where they will buy a primary residence, a duplex, say, and rent out half and keep the other half. What would you do with that?
I would still go with the real estate privacy trust. Absolutely.
Real estate privacy.
Absolutely. Because if I'm putting let's say it's a triplex, if I've got a triplex and I put it into my revocable living trust, although I'm living in one unit and a liable action happens in one of the other two units, what are they going to go after now? My revocable living trust. And that's my treasure chest. That's where everything's kept. That's where everything flows to. So I certainly want to keep anything that has liability. You don't even put cars in a revocable living trust because cars are a liability. So we want to keep anything that has liability out of that trust.
And part of the decision of what asset we put in what trust or what LLC, these are all things that you and your team have you have an expert team.
Absolutely.
That can guide our clients through these things. So for those of you that have listened to this today, and as confusing as it may sound, it really is quite simple. We use land trust or real estate privacy trust for rental properties. Generally, your primary residence goes into your revocable living trust, your family trust. We combine these things with LLCs to give you the best asset protection possible. So if you have questions, every situation is different. Reach out to our office, ask for David and his team. Let them give you a hand in going through everything you're doing and how you're doing it, and get the right guidance and support. Be proactive. Make that a mission this year to make sure that you and your family are protected and that you can sleep easy at night in the event of a business accident. So thank you so much for joining us on Wealthy and Wise. David, thank you for being here.
Always great.